Good morning from Guam. It's Friday the 26th, day after Anzac Day for my friends down under and in New Zealand. And in the US, it is still Thursday in the late afternoon, most likely, or early evening. And today, um, we're going to focus on, how do you enter your workspace, what goes on in those moments you have before your day begins. And everybody's going to be different. Some of you will have an office that you go to. Some of you will have a facility that you have to sign in or enter into. Some of you might be a little bit like me, where you do quite a bit of contract work. So each day is different. And so you might want to have a pen or a pencil or paper or drawing materials or whatever, however you might like to, jot some ideas that might emerge for you. One of the things I do is I'm still old-fashioned and I have a paper calendar. So I like to write in color. One of the things I do is I kind of color code using one of those pens that has multiple colors. I like to color code my day or my week and spend some time earlier in the week just looking at what is entailed in my week so I don't forget things. Excuse me. You might, have a place you go to with regularity so that what's it like for you when you enter that space. I'm in my home, so that's quite different than entering your workspace. Do you scan the environment, just notice where things are in place? Are you going to see patients in there or clients in there? So do you need to set up the space? So some of us, well, most of us at some time are setting up space, because as dance therapists, we're always bringing in our props or setting up our music. So, just how is it that you come into that space? So maybe just go into your body for a minute and say, how do I enter that space? And if you have multiple spaces like me, it might be, okay, how do I get to this particular place? Like when I go into school and I work with some kids, how is it that I come in? I bring in all my props and I put them off to the side and set up the space that we're going to work in. So that's something that I do for that particular setting. You may have a different way where you like things in a certain place in your room. So just take a little time to feel into your body about that wisdom of how you enter into and set yourself up in your space. And you can do this as a little guided visualization too about, okay, it's Monday morning and it's approximately this time and I have this many minutes or this much time before I have to see a client. So how do I need to prepare for my day? Just take a minute and feel into your body. And I'm feeling like I want to make sure that I've got my plumb line, my center line, that I'm really in that place in my body, so that I'm really feeling my being from my central line. You may have something else, maybe completely different. So I'm feeling that I want to be there. And I'm feeling also that, I want to know where things are. So I want to have this ability to really scan and see if things are in place for what I'm doing next. So you may need to take time. Or maybe you remember that you need to sit and write a few notes to people you're working with or staff or just depending on what kind of um, setting that you're in. But do you have a few minutes to just tune into, this is my day, this is my imagined day, and how am I going to move in that day? I have X, Y, and Z. So, you can give yourself a few minutes to move and imagine a particular day of the week for you and say, I'm needing to do this, I'm needing to do that, and I'm needing to do this. So how is that taking shape in your body? Can you imagine those hours and how you can flow through that day, meeting the tasks? So maybe it's also settling into the body. What's my priority? What are my priority tasks? So taking time to just settle into the body, know what your priority tasks are, feel what they are. And this might be things that, you need to jot some notes down, feel into the body. Say it's on in the week, maybe it's a Tuesday. So what happens on a Tuesday? What do you need to plan for? And maybe you just go into a little bit of a movement response. I'm feeling like Tuesday that I need to make some phone calls to set up an appointment or two. And that's because that's the day before I fly to America. So there's quite a few tasks. So I'm feeling myself, particularly on the right side of the body, setting up these tasks. So that's what I'm feeling for my Tuesday. You may have a completely different Tuesday than me, and so your movement gesture or your movement phrase might be quite different. So I'm moving in my Tuesday right now. And then maybe we can shift over into a Wednesday. What's on your agenda for Wednesday? Are you even planned that far in advance? I'm going to be traveling all day Wednesday. So for me, it's like giving myself space to just read, watch films, or get to the places I need to get to make connections on time. So I'm feeling now for the Wednesday, getting back into that center line a little bit more. Really paying attention, noticing my energy levels. And for me, Wednesday will go on for 2 days because of the time difference between here and America. But then what happens to you on a Thursday? How does that take shape? And how does that come into your body? For me, next week, I'm entering into a huge family celebration over the weekend. So I'm going to have to be paying attention to, it's kind of the year of my family with some significant events. So I'm kind of having to just pay attention to little things that might arise for me, that might push me a little bit in my discomfort range. So I am feeling that and feeling, staying in that awareness of my whole body. And perhaps that's really useful for you as you go through your day. How is my foot participating, my little toes? How is my knee, my hips, my torso, my arms, my shoulders, my hands? How's this all participating? Because we all know that, our hands and arms do so much for us. They gather and bring everything in, we write, we read, we use our phone, we text, we type. So that can be very important. And then how do we, you know, give that a break or give it a stretch? So maybe, you have to do a little report writing. You get yourself a time frame to do that. Some of the days of the week where you're doing that. And then you take a little postural or stretch break. I know Kathleen Hendricks had some name for these little breaks, and I'll remember them later and I'll bring it up in a live again. But so you might just find, those little movement breaks where you try some little different movement, especially if you're sitting and doing those. And then I just want to start to wind this down and bring you into a little bit of close around what do you think can be useful for you in your work days? How can you bring some of this awareness? Because right now we've only spent, say, 10, 11 minutes in this process. So how can, when you arrive at your destination of your work setting that day, how can you take the time, take it in, and then, take the wider view, and then take in that narrower view of specific task that you need to do. So you can keep playing with that question, how do I take in the wider view of the day and the task ahead and the clients that I'm seeing? Because you may, as soon as you say, okay, I have these clients today, and you may start to go, and you feel something into your body when you speak of that client. So maybe you need to sit with that, if that person's coming next, sit with that for a few minutes and just notice what arises and give yourself just a couple of minutes to jot notes or to just really feel into that body response so that you can then go into your session and come in with a bit of clarity, with a bit of having touched base with yourself. So I think for now, we'll finish this off. And thank you for joining me or watching. And I will figure out something when I'm in the States. So many blessings.